Hello everybody and welcome to another episode. This week I'm going to be looking at making some handy dandy tokens for my Imperial Guards so I don't keep forgetting all of their orders. This is quick and easy, hope you enjoy it. So back when 9th edition released, Games Workshop sent out a bunch of these numbered objective marker tokens. Now, in 10th edition, numbers don't seem to matter so much on the objective markers, and I have others, so I've decided to use these to make some nice order tokens. I'm starting by taking some black acrylic paint. This is just standard cheap stuff from Hobbycraft or any other artist store will do, and put a few layers on to block off all these pre-existing colours. While I do that, let's talk about a little bit of context. The Imperial Guard have an army rule that allows them to give orders to units that they're attached to. So officers have this rule, it's called Voice of Command. Most officer units can give out one or sometimes two orders to units they're attached to, or if there's Vox operators, send that out across the battlefield. The hard thing is remembering what order you've given to which unit, especially as the time distance from the command phase to the shooting phase could be quite substantial, especially if you're like me and you like having lots of cups of coffee. So to get around this memory deficit on my part, I'm creating these tokens. A nice reminder to know what orders I've given to which units. As well as helping me, it'll also help my opponent, so that's good too. Once the black base coat / primer was down, I started using an off-white paint to note down all the letters. Luckily, apart from first rank fire, second rank fire, all these orders have really short names. And this means that it's not too much effort to write these down. This entire process probably took me about an hour, and that includes drying times. To do any kind of letters, I usually do the first letter and then the last letter and then the middle letter in the word. This allows me to space it out somewhat evenly. These aren't going to be the neatest things in the world, but I'm going for a cartoony style anyway, that comic book look, because ultimately it's a bunch of guys fighting each other in space and it doesn't need to look too realistic for me. The orders that I'm going to be putting on these little tokens are move, 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 first rank fire, second rank fire, take aim, fix bayonets, duty and honour, and the other one, which I've forgotten off the top of my head. Oh yeah, take cover. This is probably a pretty useful one actually, given Guard don't survive much firepower. Now, as I mentioned, I'm using these older Games Workshop objective markers that I haven't used in a very long time. You don't necessarily have to use something like this. You can use a little circle of plasticard, you can use little rectangles of plasticard, you can use basically anything. As long as you can paint a flat layer on it and then write over it with a pen or a brush, you're good to go. Now, I've done the main effort here by adding all the words. These are perfectly acceptable for the game now, but I'm going to snazz them up a bit because I like doing stuff like that. So I'm going to use a red paint to emphasise a few of the words. Probably best example by first rank fire, second rank fire, where I made the two words fire stand out in red. All these follow-on stages are where you can just have a bit of fun with it and make these absolutely your own. I'm going to be adding a little border to them and a few pops of colour here and there just to make them a bit more interesting. This video is quite short, so I thought you'd like to see Bram. Loads of people keep asking me pretty regularly, how's Bram, where's Bram, what's he doing? He's almost invariably right in the spot you're seeing him now, on this sofa, sleeping. For a spaniel, he's very, very chilled. I'm sure if he could speak / understand English, he'd say hi. But as it is, he just wanted to go to sleep. And right after this video cut, the postman showed up, so he went straight into attack / defend mode, which is like a special ability he has. Anyway, back to the tokens. We're looking at take aim here. I've done all the red lettering and I'm going to start adding a nice white border all around the circle. I didn't get this one too neat, but again, it's just for me and a memory aid, and I'm still quite pleased with it. Other ideas I thought about that you could do here, you could put the words take aim in scroll work if you wanted to. I've done that on a few vehicles, not for take aim or orders, but for like vehicle names and stuff, so that's always fun. But I wanted to stick with the somewhat cartoony look and the stamped Imperial Guard look. These things are mass-produced after all. Next up, a very subtle effect that I thought would make the words pop out a little bit more. Around the red lettering, I added a grey shadow. It's so subtle that I actually forgot I'd done this, so when I've been using them in games I haven't even noticed, but the red lettering's still very cool. Other things you can do if you're using things that are shaped like cards or more rectangular or even larger circles than this, or if you just, write smaller in them, you can add little explosions, little cartoony effects. You could go to town on it. For take aim, you could have a little lasgun firing. You could just have the lasgun firing instead of aiming. You could have a little reticule instead of the words take aim. You could do whatever you want. And the entire goal of this video is to hopefully inspire you to make something that's entirely your own, that will at least help you remember your orders, because if there's one thing I think we all do when we play Warhammer, is forget half the rules. Plus, you don't want to invest too much money or time into something that's probably going to be out of date in a year or two. So this is an hour's work or so, and it will last the next 3 years. And then when 11th comes along and they invariably change everything again, then it's not too big of a deal. The final thing I did on these before we show them off in all their glory is add a few yellow and orange sparks. Just, again, to add a pop of colour. The red, white and black was a little bit boring for me. This just added enough to make them really stand out on the battle grid. I also made sure to gloss varnish everything, and after that, it was complete. As always, I've been Sam. See you next time.